So the next concept I want us to look at is the React components. Alright. And so what is a component? So we're saying a component are basically JavaScript functions that return HTML code. So components are what we use to build our user interface or to build our pages. For instance, a component could represent a page or it could represent a section of the page, such as a header, a navigation bar, or a footer, or a sidebar. Alright, so we've seen that when we create a React app, by default it generates for us one component called the app component, and this app component has the file extension app.js. JS to mean that it is a JavaScript file. So when you open this file, you will see that it has a function, and the name of the function is called app, and what this function does, it returns some HTML. Alright, so you can see that. So it has a returned value, and then it returns this HTML. So when we call this function app anywhere, it will display this HTML. It will return for us this HTML. Alright, and that's why you can see now we have this function. So that's why we are saying that we have two types of components: the class component and the function components. So the class components were used in all the React code bases, but for our case in this class, from now henceforth, we will be focusing on function components. This is what is currently used more frequently. Then we will look, of course, on how we can create a simple React component, and then how we can display that React component by calling it its name. Alright, so let's get back to our code, and we are going to take an example with this component which is created for us, the default component, before we can create our own component. So this is an app component which returns this particular HTML code, and at the bottom of the component you can see we are exporting it. If you remember the concept of JavaScript modules, where we said a module is basically a file which contains some code. So here we have a file called app.js which represents a component, and then we are exporting this code here using the default export. So we export, then we use the default keyword, and then the name of the function or the name of the component, which is the app here. Then after we have exported it, you can see that when you come in this index.js, we are importing it. So we are importing this component by using the keyword import, and then the component name, which is the same that we have exported here. This name and this one must match. From where we importing it from this file called app. Alright, so after we've imported it, we can now use it. We can call the function inside. So the function inside this file is called app. So this is the function name, and here we are calling it, and when we are calling this component, you can see we are calling it, we are referring to its name just like the way we used to type HTML elements. So we are using this function as if it was an HTML element. So another way we can write this app component, instead of writing it the way it is written here, we can have it this way. So this is the same way as if we are writing, as if we are defining, for example, paragraph. So a paragraph is one of the HTML element, and you can see it has an opening tag and a closing tag. The same thing, when we are calling a component, we give the component name like as if it was an HTML element, it must have an opening tag, which is this, and it must have a closing tag, which is this one. Alright, so let me undo. So we are calling this component here. So when we call this component here, it will return this HTML, and that is the HTML that you are seeing that is being displayed over here, just by referring that component. So that means that we can even create our own component to represent different pages that we want to build. So let's say if you want to create a home page, like for example, let me go to this project called archive.com. Okay, so if you look at this website, it has multiple user interfaces. So when I click on home, right now I'm on home page. So you can see this home page has different sections. It has the header, which is this one with the navigation links. It has this section here, which is the hero section part with this text, welcome to Code Archive Academy. Then it has the body section. Then it has the footer section below here. So we can see that we have a component called home page, which displays all this. Then we have another component which displays the navigation bar or the navigation header. If I click on about, you can see I'm displaying a different content. So there is another component which is displaying this text you are seeing here. If I click on contact, there is another component that I have called to display this content that you are seeing here. So everything in React is all about components. Okay, it's all about components. So you write components to represent your pages or sections of your pages. All right. So let us take an example here, and we create another file. Let me delete this, the one that I had created before. I want to delete this. So now we create a new component to represent a home page, for example. How do we go about that? So we're going to right click on this SRC folder. So you have to make sure that all your files that you are going to create yourself must be located within this SRC folder. So you right click on this folder and then click on new file, and you're going to give the file name. So you can see the cursor is blinking here. So you're going to, let us call this home page dot js. All right, then press enter. So what we are going to do in this file is that we are going to create a function component that will display the code related to home page. So I'm going to create a function. How do we create a function in JavaScript? We use the function keyword, then the function name, let us call it home. And by the way, all the component function names must start with a capital letter, and that is the rule here. So we are saying that when you are creating React components, the component name must start with the uppercase letter. So here in our case here, we are creating a component, a function component, and the name of the function is called home, and it must start with a capital letter. Then in the bracket, then we have the function body. Okay, and since it is a function component, it must return what? It must return HTML HTML code. So we are going to say return. Then we must return the HTML code within the parentheses like this. So, and since we are going to return multiple HTML, we are going to have one top level element. We can call it div. Then within this div, we can now write as many HTML elements as possible. Alright, so I'm going to add one header and call it so this is a blogging site, so let me say about, or I can say maybe our mission. So what's our mission? Then let us put our mission by adding a paragraph and say to inspire all the blog writers. Okay, then we can add another header, for example, and say our vision. We add a paragraph, maybe to be the leading blogger platform. Alright, so we can have another header, and maybe we can add a content like what we do. Alright, and then here we can add a list. So what is the element for adding a list? So the element for adding a list is add an ordered list of what we do. So here we use the list item, the list element li, and here we say what do? We create blocks. Okay, we edit blocks, we what else do? We maybe delete blocks, if just for example. So let me put li here and here as well. So now when you save this, assuming this is your home page, we just making a representation of how your home page would look like, for example. So after you have created a function, given it the name, and you write your HTML within that is going to be displayed, at the end of that component, you must export that component so that it can be available to be imported in another file. So we are going to export using the default, and then we export the component name home. This name here must be the same as the name you have given to your function here. You save. Then now we go to the index.js, and instead of displaying or instead of rendering the app component, we can render the home component. So before we render even the home component, we must import it in this index file. So we're going to import, and what are we importing? We are importing the home component. And where is the home component? It is in the file called the home dot. It is in the file called home page.js. So we use this /home page. Then we end with semicolon. Then we come here, instead of displaying, instead of rendering app component, let us render the home component, and we also close it here with home component. So when we save that, and now when you go to your browser, you should see now that our home component is now displayed. So assuming now this is your home page. You have your mission, your vision, what you do, and enlisted in that manner. So we've just created one component to represent our home page. Alright, so I will pause here and give a room for questions in case there's where you have not understood before I proceed. Please ask where it's not clear. You're good? Alright, so if that's okay, I'll want to continue still in components. And so as you can see in our example here, we have created a component to represent our page, like for example the home page. But still, we can have another component to represent the section of that page. So within this home page, let us say we have a header. We want to place something like an header up here, like this, within this page here. So we can create another component, we call it navigation bar. So this header is normally called navigation bar. So we can create another component called navigation bar. So when you come in our code, again within the src folder, you can right click on it, click on a new file, and we are going to call that component navbar dot js. And in that navbar, let me add a list. Let me create a function component. How do we create a function component? We use a normal JavaScript function, and then we give the function name navbar, and then in the bracket, and then we return the HTML code. Then we return the HTML code. So within this return, we are going to return one div element, and in this div element, I'm going to return a list. I'm going to return a list of hyperlinks. So I'm going to say we have an ordered list, and here we have a list of the list item. Here we can use href link, so we can say here about us. Then I'm going to copy this same list item and put it below here. So I'm going to call this one conduct, and then I'm going to call this one support us, or even here conduct us.
Hello.
Yes, hello Thomas.
I don't know. Was it my internet that dropped or it was yours?
I think it must be you. Where did you?
Even me. So I think it's yours.
It is mine.
Yeah, because I can also my internet is also behaving the same way he's complaining.
So So at what point did I start dropping?
Just after you have run the Node.js, index Node.js.
Um,
After running the
after running the home page.js.
home page, yeah.
Okay, okay. So after displaying this part here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried that.
Okay. Yeah, so we've said that we have just created a symbol component to represent the home page, and these are symbol content for our home page. But we can also create a component to represent a section within a page. For example, if you come to this code archive website, this one is the whole of this is a page, is one single page. But when you look at this page, for example, you can see that it has sections. It has the top section here, which is the navigation bar. It has the body here, and then it has the footer. I think it is the home page. Let's go to home page. So this home page has the navigation bar, the body, and and the footer down here. So we can also create components to represent the sections of those pages, and that is what we want to do here. So in our code, this is the home page we have, but we want to create a section of the home page. So we want to create the top navigation header, and here we are creating it as a component. So we have a component called navbar, which returns a list of some links. Okay, and then we are going to export this component so that it can be able to be imported in another file. Okay, so how do we export? We export using the export keyword. Then we use the default keyword. Then we give the function or the component name, which is navbar. The navbar. So now this is a component on its own. We can add this component within the home page component. Okay, so if we come in the home page, we can then be able to import what we have exported. So we can bring this line a bit down here, and on top of this we can do import. And what are we importing? We want to import this component here. So we are importing it in the home page. We want to import navbar from this file. Okay, so after importing it, we can actually use it on top before the before this other component to act as the top navigation bar. So we're going to use it here. And how do we use it? We use it just like as if it is an HTML element. So I'm going to type navbar here. So we have this navbar. Navbar. All right. So now when you save and open again this program, you can see that we have this navigation bar which has been displayed above before this other component. We can as well create another component to act as the footer. So we can have the footer here. We can create another component, call it the footer component. So I'm coming here, right click and create another component, call it the footer dot js. And here you can also have a function call it footer, and this is going to return some HTML that will be displayed on the footer of the page. Then you can have whatever footer elements that you want it to be displayed here. Then lastly, after creating the component, you must always remember to export that component, so that once you export it this way, then it is going to allow you to import it in another file. So if you come in the home page, you can then be able to import also the footer from the footer file. And once you have this footer, you can be able to use it at the bottom of the page. So let us go back to our footer and we add a symbol, maybe paragraph, say this is the footer content. This is the footer content. So when we come to our home page, we have imported the footer component, and here we can use it below this. We refer to it with its name, footer. And now when you refresh your page, you can see that the footer component comes below the footer of the page. So that's all about the concept of components. In the sense that you can be able to create components to represent a web page or to represent a section of the page. Yes, Ochari.
So my question is,
Ochari, I can't hear you.
line, maybe put it on line up, maybe. So do you use the CSS, or you can just use the JSX?
Come again.
Like for example, the homepage, there are those there's about what do you do maybe which what do you use maybe to align them up there in line?
Yes, that's a
Do
very
you use the CSS or you use the JSX?
yeah. So here we use the CSS for the styling. So you can see we have some styles here. You can see the background is blue, the text color is white, and then the alignment, we have this content aligned to the right, this one aligned to the left. So these are all styles, and for any styling we must use the CSS. But even better than CSS, we have a framework of CSS called the Bootstrap, and this is what we are going to be using. The good thing with Bootstrap is that first of all, it saves you time writing a lot of CSS, and number two, it makes your page responsive on all the devices. So you don't have to worry about the issue of responsiveness, whether your page will be responsive on a mobile device or it will not. Bootstrap will take care of that.
All right.
Yes. Any other question?
My question was the same, but you have answered it.
Yes. So it is just in the next lesson, which I think we will look at it in the next one day. on how to use CSS in React and also how to use Bootstrap in React. Then now we can focus on using the Bootstrap. If you look at this code that I have here, this one of mine, I have used all the Bootstrap to make sure that my pages are responsive. All right. So if there's no any other question, why can't we pause here and then we give ourselves an assignment to go and create a simple React app, and then you create one page called the home page and have it displayed like this one. So in your home page, you'll make sure that you have more content than this one of mine here. And when you are creating that page, you put in your mind that you are going to build a blogging post platform, which we said is our capstone project. So assuming now you are building a blogging platform which will allow the users to post, to create a blog, to edit a blog, to add a blog, delete a blog, or even view and comment on the blog post of another people. So you create that page in your mind with that project. Then now when we meet again, we pick up from where we have. I can see Ochari, you are raising your hand.
No.
Okay.
I don't have any question.
Okay. So we can try ourselves with that, so that tomorrow when we come, at least I should hear that maybe I tried and it went well, or I tried and I had some challenges. How do we do with this? So also to understand whether you guys are on the same page or you are lagging behind, or you are even ahead of me.
All right, we can do that.
All right.